Hi, fifth graders. Today's topics are gonna go around place values for decimals, rounding decimals, fractions to decimals, and decimals to fractions. So it's gonna be a lot of conversions. So the first one is gonna be the place values. It says for number 3, 832.069. Which digit is in the hundredths place? So the main like decimal places that you're going to use are the tenths, the hundredths, and the thousandths. So there's always going to be a decimal point, and then there's always going to be numbers behind it, or most of the times. And this first one is going to be the tenths. The second one is going to be the hundredths. So I spelled that wrong. Hundredths. And this third one is going to be your thousandths. Now, there are more numbers. It's going to go from like 10,000ths, 100,000ths. But for now, these three are going to be your main focus because it's what this whole worksheet revolves around. So number 3, let's say it again. It gives us 832.069. And which digit is in the hundredths place? So we're going to look for hundredths, and we see that it's the second number after the decimal. So we're going to look at the number given, 832. That's before the decimal, so we don't need to worry about that. And then we're going to look at the three numbers behind it, which are 0, 6, and 9. And the second number is going to be 6, right? So which digit is in the hundredths place? It's going to be the number 6. And that's going to be your final answer. So when doing this worksheet, just make sure to look at this visual right here. Now we're going to be rounding decimals. So it says that round to the indicated place value. So it's going to have like number 8. It gives us 3.9328, and then we have to round it to the nearest thousandths. And we're going to use for this one the visual that we have right here. So remember that the number right after the decimal point is the tenths. And then the number right after the tenths is the hundredths, and the number right after is the thousandths, right? So, oops, that's a bit messy, but we're going to use this visual again for number 8. It says round 3.9328 to the nearest thousandths. So we're going to look for the third number, which is 2, right? So we see that we need to round it, and remember that for rounding, if it's greater than or equal to 5, you round up. If it's less than 5, you round down, or like it stays the same. So for this specific worksheet, you need to pay attention to the visual on top and the rounding rules. So we found out the thousands place, right, which is 2, and then the number behind it gives us 8. And if we look at the rounding rules over here, we see that 8 is greater than 5, so we're going to round up. So we're going to give 1 to the 2, right? So the 2 becomes a 3, and the 8 becomes a 0. So your new answer is going to be 3.933. And that's your final answer. So once again, when you're doing this worksheet, make sure to pay close attention to the rounding rules and the place values of decimals. Now we're going to be turning fractions to decimals. So decimals are, there's two ways for this one. You can either divide 2 by 25, or you can make the denominator into a 10, 100, or 1,000. That's the easiest way. So let's do the first way, which is dividing 25 into 2. So we're going to divide 25, which is the divisor, into the dividend, which is 2. And we know that 25 cannot go into 2, right? So we're going to put a decimal point and a 0 right here. And then we're going to put a 0 right there. But make sure for this decimal point you bring it up too. Now, 25 cannot go into 20, so we're going to put another 0 on top and another 0 right here. And then 25 can go into 200, right? Because 25 times, let's try 5, which is 5 to 125. Let's go a little bit higher. 25 times 6, 0, 3. We get 115. Let's try a little bit higher. 25 times 8, 0, 4, 16 plus 4, 20, so 200. So 25 goes into 200 8 times. So we subtract 200 from 200. We get 0. So your answer would be 0. Oops. 0.00. I'm sorry. 0.08. The other way to do it would be by making 25 into 100. So it'll be 2 over 25. And then we know that 25 times 4 gives us 100. So we're going to multiply top and bottom by 4. And we get 8 over 100. So this 100 down here means that it's in the hundredths place, right? So that's going to be 2 places after the decimal. And we know that it has to be 8, right? So we know that the last number has to be 8, but we don't know what the middle number is going to be, right? So we're going to have to put a 0. So once again, we see that 0.08 equals 0.08. So number 7, 2 over 25 will be 0.08 as a decimal. Once again, there's 2 ways to solve this. You can either divide the numerator by the denominator, or you can make the denominator into multiples of 10, so 10, 100, thousands, to make it into a decimal. Now we're going to do the opposite, which is turning decimals into fractions. So we get 0.8, right? And 0.8, 8 is in the tenths place, right? So we can write it as 8 over 10. And you can just leave it like that. But if you want to go the one more step, or because most teachers want you to do this, you would simplify it fully. So it will be, we know that the greatest common factor between 8 and 10 is 2. So we're going to take out 2 from 8, right? So 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4. And then 10 divided by 2 is going to be 5, right? So for this one, you can either have it as 8 over 10, or the more simplified version, 4 over 5. But most will prefer the most simplified version. And that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this video helped you guys a bit.